So I'm a pianist, a composer, and a performer. I come from Milan, Italy, but I've been living in Vienna, Austria since 2 years and a half. And I've been studying music since I was a child because my father used to play keyboard and piano along with the guitar as a self-taught. And my parents knew each other because they were working for a local radio. So that's where my passion for music started. And I began to play at 4 years old, like Per Elisa and so on. And my father taught me to read the notes. But I actually began to get piano lessons only when I was 8 years old, because the school that I was attending did not allow children before 8 years old to have lessons, to have piano lessons. And from there, I decided that I wanted to be a piano performer, because once I was asked by my teacher if I wanted to go on playing the piano, if this was my path for the future, and I said yes, definitely. So every day I practiced at least half an hour. So I started with half an hour a day when I was a child, and then of course the time increased, and then I also began composing, because aside from the classical music and the technique which I had to study, my father brought me scores from American pianists and from soundtracks and so on. So most of the time, once I was ready with Bach, Chopin, and other classical artists, I absolutely wanted to go on with these new age, new classical pianists and study their pieces. And from then, I took the inspiration for my songs. And for example, one of my favorite artists is Yanni Yrsomalis, a Greek pianist who moved to the States, and also Michael Nyman, who composed the soundtrack of the movie The Piano. I saw it when I was a child, and it was really, really inspiring. And yes, I took most of my inspiration from them. My music takes inspiration from the American pianists and soundtracks, moreover from New Age music, and from my piano teacher I've also been taught to play some jazz chord, which I used to compose my songs. And yeah, so what I always say is that my music translates my emotions. So it's like an inner dialogue which I express through the keys of the piano. And so one of the challenges that I had to face as a musician was, so first of all, practicing every day on the piano when I came back home from school, because when you have passion, you also have the will to practice in order to get the results. And moving forward also to my academic career, because I have a PhD in foreign languages and a master in psychology, it was even more difficult to have the time to practice, but I didn't give up, and I went on composing at least. And I remember the time I got my first piano. It was actually an E piano. At the time I was 9 years old, and there was one of the first piano recitals for children. And I remember that my parents told me, so it was Christmas time, And they told me, okay, if you won't make any mistakes, you will get a piano as a Christmas present. So everything went very good, and I got my first piano. And yeah, which I almost, so it stayed with me for about 30 years old. So yeah, it's a nice story, and I hope it can be inspirational for other aspiring musicians. So I would tell them, never give up if music is your passion, because if music is your main passion, you will be unhappy without it. So I'm sure that everyone can find the real timing to practice and to reach the results. And I also made some musical projects in the past, like writing songs in English and sing them while I also play the piano, and pop and rock music also. And so this was also part of my musical journey. I made some projects with record labels, also internationally, like in Japan, for example. And so talking about the future projects, I'm working on my second album, because the first one was published on January 2024 by the label Inri Classic. It's an Italian label which distributes my music on Spotify through Universal Music Group. And so you can find my whole album on Spotify. Musical impressions on Instagram, for example. My account is _Alessandra Toni _. And yes, apart from the second album, I'm also working on planning the new concerts, which will be held internationally, starting from Vienna to Milan, and Dubai, of course.